Hi everybody. Well, bike's being cleaned down after the Euro trip. I did say I'd give you an update on the Euro trip as we went along, but things transpired that stopped me doing that. Time and the heat, in fact. We had maybe 4 days in the mid-30s, and whilst I'm not going to complain about the weather, I'm not very good in the heat. Um, and the reason for the video was just to tell you how it performed on a proper European trip, 7 day trip, taken in the Moselle area of Germany, the Black Forest. We went on to Fussen in Bavaria and had a trip to the top motorcycle museum up in the Austrian Alps, which is really good. And that's where I lost my top box, which I'll come to later. So, if you can remember, for those of you that watch lots of my videos, I bought the VFR mainly for European touring. Or shall we say that was high up on my list of requirements. I'd started doing some longer touring in the late, sort of like 2016 to 20. And I was found that the Phaser 1000 I had, whilst a brilliant all-round bike, it wasn't quite up to, long tours with more high speed work. And as I'd always fancied the VFR 1200 and the prices were coming down, I thought this will be an ideal bike for it. And indeed it is. Now, as I've said before on the little tours I did in Wales and Scotland, this is very much a sports tourer. And having done a European trip on it, that still stands. This bike is very, very, very sporty, but tours really well also. First off, just putting the luggage on, the panniers and the top box. Very easy to use. Could be a little bit, there could be more capacity for serious long-term touring, but, squeezed a few things in there perhaps I didn't really need. But the use of the luggage and the top box, very easy to use, very easy indeed. The bike itself, because I had an opportunity to cruise at higher speeds by virtue of the German autobahns, that's when this thing really came into its own, I found. I don't know what you find, but when you're cruising, I suppose in the UK you tend to cruise at a sort of indicated 80, which is close to 70, I suppose. I don't know whether you find you get this weird vibration, sort of. I've heard it called a scrotum buzz, of all things. But when you get over that, things smooth out a lot more. So I was finding actually touring on it, on the autobahns, sort of like between 90 and 100 was a lot smoother than, say, 80 and 90. And roll-on performance, just fantastic, I've said before, motorways can be quite boring because of the roll-on power of this thing. They can be quite exciting at times. Fuel economy throughout the trip, we did 1,800 miles. I'll put a few figures up. We did 1,800 miles. Not as far as I've normally gone. We didn't go into Italy this time. And it achieved 49.5 miles per gallon, which I was really pleased with, considering we were pushing on many times. We were pushing on quite quickly. So touring-wise, miles per gallon, it performed brilliantly. But getting to its sporty side, it tours not as well as a full-blown tourer. We know the screen is if we know the seat is a bit hard. But going back to the sporty side again, one of the beauties of this thing is that once you've done your high-speed touring bit and you turn off for the twisties, that's when this thing it's immense. I mean, it just turns into a sports bike again. And particularly on those alpine hairpins, it's long wheelbase, and it doesn't turn in that fast on some of the slow stuff. But what I've found with it is, and I've never had a chance to do that before because we just don't have the roads that you find in the Alps and in Europe, is that the sort of iffy low-speed fueling that can be a problem in town sometimes disappears where you really need it, And I was finding that those very tight right-hand hairpins, where you more or less have to let the bike fall in to get round, otherwise you're over the white line on the other side. As the bike just falls in, it picks up on the throttle superbly. No hitch, no judder, just I've got it and it's off again. And you get that lovely sort of kick at about 4.5, 5, which some people think it's weak at the low end. I suppose it's mild at the low end. But what that does is it gives you that kick, a bit like a power band, an old-fashioned power band. And it just charges off to the next corner with that lovely growl. Forget this sound people got about what it sounds like at the exhaust. That growl I've mentioned many times. Just fantastic. Hairpin after hairpin, just absolutely brilliant. I loved it. So the sporty side of things, absolutely great. Yeah, it just turns from a tourer to a sports bike in an instant. Absolutely fabulous. But yeah, I had the issue with the top box. I was a fool. I came down and I put my top box on whilst not fully concentrating. Too long a story to say why I wasn't fully concentrating. Put the top box on, walked away, didn't lock it. Halfway to the motorcycle museum in Austria, felt a tug on me jacket, wonder what it was. Next thing I look in my mirror and here's my top box bouncing down the road. Was hit by a car coming the other way. Fortunately, it didn't damage the car. Caused a bit of a traffic jam though while we picked all the pieces up. So yeah, it's in the bin basically, just totally smashed. So that's something else I've got to look for and get sorted. I might just put grab handles back on actually, and just do with the panniers. I don't know. I'm not decided on that yet. So to get back to the bike, how did it perform? Just to sum it up, how did it perform on the European trip? Exactly as I thought it would do. Few bum aches from the hard seat. The wrists, no problem, only in slow work as usual. We know that. But yeah, for a bike that's now sort of 10-year-old, I paid 4.6 for it. 4.6, and took me there with no effort. So I'm really pleased. So as I say, if you're looking for an old school sports tourer, my God, this takes some beating. Yeah. Thanks again for watching. Bye.